much, Johnny, for joining us today. Please take it away.
You betcha. And thank you, Dominica, for having us. I'm really glad it worked out this year. Kind of threaded it in so, I could be here today. I am the state CTSO coordinator for Alaska, and CTSOs are career technical student organizations. And we'll talk about a little bit more about the definition. I have a slide, a very brief slideshow, to share with you. But my background is I'm real heavy into CTE, career and technical education, and have just recently retired the end of June from a 41-year career in education, which mostly centered around that. I was a family consumer science teacher for 10 years in Montana. I was a school counselor for 23 years here in Alaska, in Fairbanks, and spent the rest of my career as either the CTE coordinator or director in the Fairbanks district for career and technical education. And then probably 6 or 7 years ago, I also accepted the position from DEED as the CTSO coordinator for the state. So let's take a look at, what the heck what are we talking about? So let me see if I can share my screen. I'm in a hotel room with a really slick glass tabletop, so my mouse is not wanting to work. That is not it. Let me see if I can. I had everything ready to go. Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah. Let's close that out again. I'm still not seeing my PowerPoint. All right, try it again. Okay. So what the heck are CTSOs? Let's get this right from the beginning. They're career technical student organizations, and they are intracurricular. There's a couple words in this that really set them apart from other types of organizations that you're going to find in schools. And CTSOs, they can be in middle schools, high schools, and they can and also at the college and university level. So theoretically, a student could start their involvement with a CTSO, when they were in 7th grade, 6th grade, some states designate as middle school, all the way through college graduation. And if they're in it that long, you can darn well bet that they're going to be connected, they're probably their whole life to the career pathway and the CTSO. So they're intracurricular, and that means they are not an extracurricular activity. Now, their activities can expand beyond the school day and the school walls, and they will, but they are not considered by statute, actually, by federal law, as an extracurricular activity. They're intracurricular. So, and they're embedded in a career and technical education career pathway. So let's use, for instance, healthcare. So you have you have a pathway that, you're teaching healthcare in your school, and they should have, and I think it's, this next go around with Perkins, it's going to be required. Right now, it is strongly suggested, possibly connected a little, could hurt your funding a little bit, could ding it a little bit. Not required right now, but I'm guessing the next revision of Perkins, they will be required for Perkins funding. So you have this pathway and you're teaching all this health science stuff. You also have embedded in that a HOSA, which is Future Health Professionals of America. So they are learning their health science, what they're learning in class is now used in application through a career and technical student organization. And so they will, they will do things like, we'll have some that's a different example. So they'll do things like, they'll do field trips to the hospital, or maybe they will do some job shadows. And that can all be part of their classroom and part of their HOSA organization. So, and all of these, everything in a CTE pathway, a career and technical education pathway, and a CTSO, they are all aligned to state and national industry standards, academic standards, and cultural standards. So there's a pretty high level of kind of checks and balances, what goes on in the classrooms and what goes on in a CTSO. And CTSOs are a place for students to apply what they're learning in the classroom. And then they also grow in areas of leadership and communication. And when I was just refreshing this week, because I've done a whole bunch of advisor trainings in the last month, and rereading the statute, the federal statute, which is the Carl Perkins Act. And they talk a lot about leadership. That hasn't changed since Perkins came around in the early 70s. But they also talk about the importance of developing communication skills. That is, a real critical piece, along with some other elements. So the elements that, three essential elements in every single CTSO are, it has to provide a way for students to grow, to practice and grow leadership. That is a really, really huge deal. And I just, in my advisor trainings this last month, I, really talked to the teachers, the CTE teachers, about their responsibility of creating that culture of leadership within their classrooms that extends into their CTSO activities. And because they have to be a leader, they have to be, comfortable in that leadership, in their leadership shoes, to create that culture of leadership in their classroom. And that's kind of different. That's very different, a very different expectation for CTE teachers than teachers that teach academic classes. So that's one essential element. So students will, advocate for things, and there are ceremonies built around CTSOs. They have an opening ceremony to their meeting. They'll have a closing ceremony to their meeting. They wear official dress. So like Skills USA, they wear a red jacket with the Skills logo on it. And then like black pants, and HOSA and BPA wear navy blue jackets with tan or black or blue pants or skirts. And FCCLA wears a red jacket, has a red blazer with red or black, I believe, pants or skirts. And FFA, as you all recognize, that blue jacket with the corn on the back, with their their chapter name and where they're from, and then all of their names and all of their leadership positions. So those types of things, when you have that much structure around your meetings and you have that official dress, that helps create that culture of leadership within the classroom and within the CTSO. All CTSOs should have must have a service component to it. So that that's that giving back to their community. they're not doing, any organization, you have to do a lot of fundraising. And, when you're doing advocacy work, you're asking for something. In fundraising, you're asking for financial support. In advocacy, you're asking for support for something. So service is completely the opposite. There's no ask, and you're giving back, to your community in some way. So probably one of my favorite examples is during the pandemic, when after the vaccines came out, and everybody had, if you wanted a vaccine, you had to go to the clinic or the hospital or a vaccine, somewhere where they had set up a place to give the vaccines. And you remember we had to sit there for 15 minutes afterwards. They timed you and, gave you some water or some juice or whatever. And then they kept, somebody would come around and check on you. Well, our HOSA group in Fairbanks, they volunteered their service to go to be the ones that, went around and checked people and if everything was okay, then got them to, the checkout desk. They weren't asking for anything in return. That was their service giving back to their community. The hospital loved it because it freed up their employees to do other things. They could schedule more vaccines. People could take a break. So that was an important thing, but that service can be a wide variety of things. I've heard of FCCLA groups, that's a family consumer science group. They will, at some event, they will have a free daycare, so parents can drop the kids off. They're going to be safe. They have the students taking care of them in a safe environment, and then they can pick them up, and there's no cost. There's no charge. So those types of things. And when I talk to people about service, it's a different feeling, and we've kind of lost a little bit of that. It's just in the recent years, with the pandemic and kind of a lot of chaos around. You feel really good when you give back to the community, or you give back to someone, or you take care of someone. And, it just makes you feel like, it's a good, it just really helps you grow, in self-confidence. And, it's just different than, if I win something, you get that adrenaline rush, but it's a different feeling. And it's, it really, really helps, in developing that whole person. And that also helps, with leadership. Because, oftentimes when you're doing service things, you have to think on your feet, and, and you're working with lots of different people. And so that, the two really complement each other. And the other thing that is an essential thing to a CTSO is that they have the opportunity to participate in competitions. Just wait 1 second. Hi, just wait 1 minute and I'll be out in about 20 minutes. Okay, thanks. So they have the opportunity at the, in Alaska, most often it's the state level, although yesterday we had conversations about doing this at a regional level, in competitions that are set up around the things that they have learned in their classroom. So that's that or that's that opportunity to kind of shine and, with that applied learning. So let's say, a student is in a welding class, and that welding class has, it's an approved pathway, and it has a Skills USA CTSO attached to it. So the students will take what they've learned in that welding class. So they've learned all these skills, and now they're going to go and participate against other students, either from around their area, or, at the state level. And the competitions are set up by people in industry. And so they're, they walk into that, competition, and they know that it, shouldn't be outside what they've learned in their classroom if their teachers have done their due diligence. And then they put their best foot forward applying those skills. And they get placed, and then they can move up. So like a lot of places will have a regional competition, and like the top 3 places will go on to state. And then at state, the first place winners in any CTSO get the opportunity to compete at the national level. So it's pretty cool. And there's competitions in everything. So not only skills competitions, like welding, or a culinary competition where you have to make something in a certain time and then it's judged, or in HOSA they do different like CPR, or you have to demonstrate something, stopping bleeding, that sort of thing. But they also have all of the CTSOs have prepared speech competition, extemporaneous speaking competitions, interviewing competitions, job application and resume competitions. So they're all, because the goal is, when students finish this K-12 journey or beyond, they get a job. So this really prepares them, really well. And I think it was this past year, one of the, I think it was the FCCLA people, placed 12th in the nation in the interview category. So, it's not beyond Alaskans' reach to do really well. In fact, Educators Rising, which is one of the CTSOs, Alaska has a national president this past year. So we play on all levels. Our students do very, very well. So anyway, those are the three elements that all CTSOs have to have. So what are they? What do we have in our state? So we have 6 chartered active CTSOs in the state of Alaska. So we have BPA, Business Professionals of America. So students that are in a business pathway or finance pathway or a marketing pathway, their CTSO that would be embedded and attached to that pathway is Business Professionals America. This is a very broad CTSO, because business is everything from working with the Small Business Administration to accounting to project management to, it's really, really, really broad, which is nice. And BPA is the fastest growing CTSO in the nation. So we have that one. We have Educators Rising. So this CTSO is connected with education pathways, which can have courses in them like child development or early childhood development. And then the nice thing about Educators Rising, they took this intercurricular to amazing heights. They actually have created a full 2-year curriculum that it has all of the elements of their CTSO built into it. And it has, all of the lessons. It has everything in it. So literally a school district, this should be in every school or every school district in Alaska. So any school can get this curriculum, can get the training to use the curriculum for free, get almost all of the materials, get professional development, university credit for students if they want to. The teachers, there's a 3-year 500 level, or 3 credit 500 level course that they can take that will help them. They can take it before they teach it. They can take it concurrently. They can take it a year after they start. All of it's free. And we'll talk about funding in just a second. And it's right there. And you can, if you're unsure, if a teacher's unsure, they can just follow, the curriculum step by step, or they can add some of their own spice to it. and, maybe do a little less in some area, a little more in some area. And it's really cool. And then the competitions. So the competitions that, are connected with like Ed Rising are like, they have this, especially for elementary teachers, this is a cool one. They write a children's book and they get it illustrated. Some people even actually get them published. And they're extremely impressive. Or they lesson planning, they develop a lesson plan and they present that lesson plan, and it's judged by educators from around the state, and when you get to nationals, from around the country. And so they're all, the competitions are connected directly back. And in BPA they do things like write a business plan, or you write a proposal and present your proposal. So all of them are connected right back with the pathway. So we have FCCLA, and that is the family that the pathway, or the CTSO, that's connected with family consumer sciences. And again, it's really a big pathway, really big. I mean, it encompasses everything from textiles, childcare, culinary, interior design, just a really, really big, field of study, the whole pathway. In Alaska, we tend to, our pathways in Alaska tend to be focused on hospitality and culinary arts. That is definitely the focus in Alaska. So the students will, they'll have culinary competitions, and there's a, wide variety, of things that they can do, in that area, from actually prep to safety, just everything, proper equipment, health and safety. Yep, we talked about that. So that's a real viable and real fun pathway for students to belong to. HOSA is the Future Health Professionals, and that's connected with health science. And again, that's very, very broad, and they have, all of their competitions, connect directly with, with healthcare. FFA has probably been around longer than any other CTSO in the country. It's, not super new to Alaska, but it's really visible in Alaska right now. And they, again, they have animal science, veterinary science, horticulture, crops, range, ag mechanics, oh gosh, just again, it's a very, very big pathway. And in Alaska, it's a pretty diverse pathway. Also, there are, they do a lot of, we have ag mechanics contests, floriculture, that's a big one with all the peonies that are grown in Alaska. Floriculture, horticulture, marine aqua science and marine science. They're all housed underneath agriculture and FFA, and their competitions reflect all of those. They might have to do have a whole tray of plants, and they have to ID, identify what the plants are, and are they an invasive species, or are they a crop, or all those types of things. And then there's Skills USA, and Skills USA, the other ones are pretty broad. Skills USA is by far the broadest CTSO that we have. Skills USA is an interesting history in our country, and it was developed by heads of industry, decades ago, and it was a wide variety. So in Alaska, we tend to think, when we think skills, we think construction, and that is by far the lion's share of the CTE pathways that embed skills into it. But skills can be anything. There's, it could be graphic design. There's a culinary piece, cosmetology, robotics, IT. There are anything that we work in our country, you will find a skills competition, or, you know, things that you can use in your classroom with skills in that area. So, you know, so we have lots and lots of ways for kids to participate. Now, you know, you might be confused about, you know, like, well, if it's embedded in your classroom, does that mean only the kids that are in your classroom can be in any of these? And the answer is no. You can definitely have other students in your classroom. However, the biggest bang for their buck is if at least they have taken 1 or 2 classes in the pathway. But that happens, you know, like when I was teaching family consumer science, I might have had a student when they're sophomore and their junior year in my class, but their senior year, they couldn't take it for 10,000 different reasons. They didn't have room in their schedule. They had to go to work in the afternoon. They blah, 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 all those types of things. But they had the benefit of having 2 years of, you know, my classes. So rarely did a senior drop out of FCC, or at that time it was FHA, but FCCLA, you know, their activities, they stayed to participate because they were reaping the benefits of being district officers, and I had a national officer, and you know, all sorts of things. Or maybe you have a freshman that really wants to be a part of you know, HOSA, but they can't take their first class until, you know, second semester, or maybe even the year after. But they really want to be a part of HOSA. They can take part in HOSA activities, and you know, almost 100% of the time, then they'll jump into those health science courses, you know, so it's not like you're going to exclude. We never exclude. But their biggest bang for their buck is going to be to participate in that pathway, you know, because the organization is going to be embedded in, you know, in those classes. But, you know, the advisors are pretty savvy about making sure that everybody is allowed to participate. And the other thing is, and noon, I think it's past noon, and that's when we're done, right, Dominica?
We are done, Joni, when you're done.
Okay, well, I'm going to make it fast. And I won't need to, you know, talk about that piece. So we do have state advisors. If you are interested in starting, that should be alaska.edu on the end of Ed Risings. If you are interested in getting more information about bringing a program or a pathway into your school or school district, these are the people that you should contact, and they can help you out. And I just yesterday I became the interim Skills USA state director. The pandemic, we lost a lot of our state directors. Because they'd done it for years and they retired. So we are kind of rebounding from the pandemic. Yeah, Dominica.
That's it, Joni?
Yep, that's it.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I had was
wonderful.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it.
Will you be able to share the slides with us so we have the contact information? Outstanding.
Yes, well, I can do that.
Thank you so much, Joni, for making the time for the ACAC training attendees. I know you're in Anchorage, right?
Yep.
Attending the Alaska ACTE conference. So I really appreciate your time. And with that, I don't see any questions. I think you just answered all the questions throughout your presentation. So thank you so much, Joni. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.